Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're tackling one of the most underrated yet absolutely crucial protections for commercial truck drivers. Look, you spend thousands of hours out there on the highway pulling heavy freight and navigating some incredibly complex traffic, and you take a lot of pride in your safety record, right? But what happens when the biggest threat to your livelihood actually isn't your driving at all, but someone else's complete lack of responsibility? Well, that is exactly what we're breaking down today. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to imagine a total nightmare scenario for a second. You're operating your rig safely, maybe you're just stopped at a red light. Suddenly, bam, a distracted driver crashes right into you. It's totally unavoidable, it is clearly not your fault. You've got vehicle damage, your neck is injured, and you're already calculating the missed loads in your head. Then, the police officer walks over and delivers the devastating news. The driver who hit you has absolutely no insurance. Or maybe they hand over a fake card or an expired policy. What do you do then? I mean, who exactly pays for your survival? So here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll be looking at the threat on the road, defining and UIM, looking at real nightmares and numbers, what is actually covered, avoiding common mistakes, and finally protecting your livelihood. Let's get right into it.
Starting with Section 1, the threat on the road.
As an owner-operator or a fleet manager, you already know the reality of the asphalt. You maintain your equipment, you log your hours legally, and you drive defensively. But we really need to bust a massive myth right now, and that's the assumption that everybody has insurance, because they don't. The reality is pretty stark. Millions of drivers are out there right now with expired policies, driving illegally uninsured, or even carrying fake insurance cards. And you know what? Even the ones who do follow the law often only carry their state's minimum coverage limits. In some states, a driver is legally allowed to carry just $25,000 in liability coverage. Think about that for a second. 25 grand. If a passenger car causes a serious accident with your Class 8 truck, how far is $25,000 really going to go? It won't even scratch the surface of the heavy equipment damage, let alone your medical bills.
Moving to Section 2, defining and UIM.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the clear distinction between the two types of danger you face. We're getting into the technical definitions here, but I promise to keep it straightforward, because understanding these acronyms is just crucial to your bottom line. Uninsured Motorist Coverage, or is your safety net when the other driver has zero insurance, literally nothing. On the flip side, Underinsured Motorist Coverage, or steps in when the other driver actually does have insurance, but their policy limits are simply not enough to pay for the massive damages they caused you. Basically, they tap out too early and fills that critical gap. This is a stark contrast that clears up a really common point of confusion. So many owner-operators think their massive $1 million primary liability policy protects them from everything, but it doesn't. Liability insurance pays for the damages you cause to others. and UIM coverage, though, pays for the damages caused to you by uninsured or underinsured drivers. If someone else messes up and can't pay, this is the specific coverage that cuts the check to keep you afloat. All right, Section 3, real nightmares and real numbers. To truly understand the financial stakes here, we need to look at some real-world scenarios pulled straight from the data. Brace yourself, because these numbers represent the sudden, catastrophic risk every single trucker faces daily. Let's break down the underinsured scenario first. Imagine a passenger vehicle acts recklessly and causes a massive accident with your rig. The total damages, between the medical bills, rehab, and vehicle damage, hit $450,000. But the at-fault driver's insurance limit is only $50,000. Their insurance pays the $50K, and then they are completely done. That leaves you, the victim, with a devastating $400,000 uncovered gap. Without coverage to step in, that $400 grand comes straight out of your business. And for most owner-operators, that means the business is over. Now let's look at the terrifying uninsured scenario. A distracted driver crosses the center line and hits your truck head-on. You survive, thankfully, but you suffer a broken arm and severe spinal injuries. The other driver, completely uninsured. The hospital bills, the surgeries, the physical therapy, your medical debt immediately skyrockets to $280,000. Because medical costs explode so incredibly fast, relying only on the hope that the other guy has good insurance is a massive gamble you just cannot afford to take. And this risk doesn't just apply when you're rolling down the interstate. coverage becomes absolutely critical even when you are parked. Consider the dreaded rest area hit and run. You're asleep in the sleeper berth. Another driver misjudges a turn, crushes your hood and fender, panics, and just flees the scene in the dead of night. You wake up to $18,000 in property damage and no responsible driver to hold accountable. Coverage is the shield that can save you from paying that 18 grand directly out of pocket. And honestly, the physical damage is really only half the story. An accident instantly triggers business interruption. Let's say that hit and run takes your truck out of service for 6 weeks for repairs. For an owner-operator, 6 weeks of downtime means 6 weeks of stopped income. You're missing loads, but your fixed costs, your truck payments, your insurance, your living expenses, they just keep coming. and UIM help reduce this immense financial pressure so a single crash doesn't completely bankrupt your operation.
Section 4. What is actually covered?
And this brilliantly illustrates the mechanics of the policy. We know the nightmares, but how does the safety net actually catch a falling trucking business? There are very clear boundaries to this coverage, and you need to know exactly what to expect. On the covered side, and UIM primarily handle bodily injury. That's your medical expenses, your lost wages while you heal, and pain and suffering. Depending on your state, it can also cover property damage. But take a look at the not covered side. It won't cover intentional damage. It won't cover the cargo you were hauling. It certainly doesn't cover normal mechanical wear and tear, and it usually doesn't directly pay for business interruption as a separate category.
Drilling down just a bit further, you have to understand the split between property damage and bodily injury. Bodily injury is universally the most critical part. It covers you, your passengers, or your employees for hospital bills and wage replacement. However, you must actively check if your specific policy and state also include uninsured motorist property damage. If it does, that is what will actually pay to repair your truck, your trailer, and your equipment when the uninsured guy ghosts you.
Section 5. Avoiding common trucking mistakes.
Now that we understand the coverage itself, let's get proactive. I want to help you identify where your peers often go horribly wrong with their insurance limits so you don't make the exact same errors. Here are 4 massive mistakes truckers make every single day. Number 1, assuming everyone has insurance. We already thoroughly debunked that. Number 2, choosing the minimum limits. As we've seen, minimum coverage fails catastrophically during serious commercial accidents. Number 3, declining UM/UIM entirely just to save a little money on premiums. This is literally stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. It backfires massively after a crash. And number 4, ignoring varying state rules. and UIM laws change heavily depending on your state. Some require it, some structure the claims differently. You really have to know your local terrain.
Let's move to and see how this builds when the worst actually happens. Here is the typical 6-step claims process. Step 1, the accident occurs. Step 2, you find out the other driver is uninsured. Step 3, you immediately file a claim with your insurer. This triggers an investigation, and guys, this is where your documentation is life or death. Police reports, medical records, proof the other driver had no coverage, gather the whole shebang. Then damages are evaluated, and finally the benefits are paid. Insurance companies investigate these really carefully to prevent fraud, so keeping meticulous records is hands down your best defense.
Let's wrap up with Section 6, protecting your livelihood.
Let's focus on the actionable steps fleet managers and owner-operators can take right now to lock down their business. How much coverage should you actually have? Well, common limits range from $100,000 all the way up to $1 million. But here is the secret. Experienced operators almost always match their UM/UIM limits directly to their primary liability limits. So if they carry $1 million in liability, they carry $1 million in UM/UIM. They do this because they know how incredibly fast serious accidents happen and how quickly those minimums just evaporate. This coverage acts as a vital pillar in your full protection structure, sitting right alongside your cargo, physical damage, and umbrella policies. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds incredibly expensive, but honestly, here is the best news of this entire explainer. Compared to the massive multi-$100,000 accident risks we just reviewed, and UIM premiums are surprisingly affordable. We're usually talking about a few $100s yearly. Now, the exact cost depends on your state, your limits, and your driving history, of course, but insurance companies reward safe operators. It is widely considered one of the absolute highest value coverages you can possibly buy. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. You cannot control other drivers on the road. Are you willing to bet your business on their minimum coverage? You can do everything right, but a distracted, uninsured driver can end your business in a split second. Don't wait until after a crash to appreciate this coverage. Pull out your policy today, check your and UIM limits, and really ask yourself if you're truly protected against the unpredictable. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and stay safe out there.